My name is ANDREA Freeman, and I am the author of No Barriers, No Limits, and I am on Jerry-Royce Live.
Hello, and thank you for stopping by. I'm your host, Jerry Royce, and welcome to Positive Power 21 Network, where you get your positive on. This is a worldwide podcast for growth, wealth, and success. Thank you.
Positive Power 21.org, Internet Radio.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and welcome to Jerry Royce Live on Positive Power 21.org. I am the voice of Jerry Royce, and when it's all positive, it's all power. That's Positive Power 21. And today's sponsors are the Resume Guy at www.career-image.com. If you have a raggedy resume and you're wondering why you're not getting the interview, because you know the interview gets you the job. Now, get that resume taken care of. So call the Resume Guy and ask for Reggie Gant at career-image.com. Also, we have a conference coming up in the Maryland area. We have REI Heritage Tours. They are from Cambridge, Maryland, home of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. They do all the scenic tours. There's over 30 of them in Cambridge, Maryland. So if you're a freedom seeker, and I know you're not from the 1800s, but you may just want to check out the tours of Harriet Tubman, and they're being given by REI Heritage Tours. Also, they were also one of the sponsors of the Underground Railroad Conference on June 13th and 14th, so that's starting tomorrow and run through Saturday. The keynote speaker is Jeffrey Fortin. He's Ph.D. from Emmanuel College in Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, he's a professor of history. And another big conference coming up in the area is Success Revolution Conference 2014. It's a big business expo, and it's being sponsored by event planner Agnes Akutun on June 14th in Columbia, Maryland. Tickets are only $5, but you can register online so you can get your goodie bags if she's giving them out. So her website is successrevolutionconference.com. Again, it's successrevolutionconference.com. And again, it's Agnes Akutun is the event planner for that event. All right. And again, we want to thank all the guests that we had on the show. Yesterday we had Akisa Rodriguez, very good guest. She's being published by her husband's publishing company. I can never remember the name of the company. I think it was called Diamond Entertainment, something like that. But anyway, check her out. I think her husband is actually releasing a book soon, too, so we're going to get him on the show. And also we have Valerie Moore, lifestyle coach, and she's the author of 4 books that's coming out. I think one is called I Can Love You Past Your Pain, and then, no, that's not her. Oops, I didn't write them down. That was somebody else's book. Sorry about that, y'all. That was Tanya Barber's book called I Could Love You Past Your Pain. And I do want to thank Tanya for being part of the show also. But tonight on the show, we have a special guest. I had her daughter on here when I was doing shows on relationships. And it was a very good show with her daughter. But we have a mom on the show. Her name is ANDREA Freeman. And let me pull her bio up real quick. I thought I had it in front of me. Oh, here we go. Okay. She said, I am an author, a speaker, a minister, and an entrepreneur. She has a jewelry and handbag business called C.L.A.S.S.Y Accessories since 2008, and she's the founder and president of a women's empowerment organization called Changing Lives, and is sincerely supporting you, C.L.A.S.S.Y, since 2012. So I think it's abbreviated C.L.A.S.S.Y. Okay, so the whole thing is called Changing Lives and is sincere supporting you. Oh, that is clever. And that spells classy. And she's been doing it since 2012. She also has, I think she's been doing a little bit of blog talk radio, Women Warrior for God on Thursday evening. And she has a bio on her website. And she gave me a couple websites, but the one for her author page is called, one is called classy5.info. That's her nonprofit. And then she has an author page, which is called ANDREAFREEMAN.com. And she's going to tell us more about it when we get on here. Right, Andrea? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, Jerry. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Like I was telling everybody, I had your daughter, and she did a fantastic job. So I guess the fruit don't fall too far from the tree. So we got Mom on the show now. So what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm just finding out that my daughter is the one that actually did provide you with my information. So it was nice to hear that. So I'm doing well, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you tonight and sharing with you.
Good. And you did a very good job with her, because I remember I first met her, and I heard her speak in front of the group, of our co-workers, and I said, wow, for her to be so young, she is so well put together. Her whole presentation was just so profound. I couldn't give credit to just the school, but I had to give credit to her parents, and she told me the whole story about you guys, and also I also invited her out to be a speaker with me when I was doing a speaking tour, a lecture tour with one of the local high schools. And what I was doing at the time was inviting young people who graduated from college to come over and present to the young people, their path, their life, the path they took in their life. And she did a fantastic job. I was so proud of her. So I know you're a proud mama.
I'm definitely a proud mother. She just got her master's degree 3 weeks ago, so I'm extremely proud of her. She's a very hard worker, and she's very deserving. That's
right. I'm so proud. And I haven't seen her in those 3 weeks since she's gotten her degree, so she's still celebrating, huh?
She is actually leaving tomorrow to go on a cruise, so you probably won't see her for at least another week.
Oh, my goodness. She's doing it up. That's all right. I'm so happy for her. She's doing some great things. All right. Well, this show is about you. So just give us a little background before we get started with our questions. And, anything you want our audience to know about you before we get started?
As you mentioned, I am the president and founder of a nonprofit organization called Changing Lives and Sincerely Supporting You. And you're right, the abbreviation is C.L.A.S.S.Y, and it's a women's empowerment organization. And our mission is to educate, equip, and empower women throughout the entire world. And I'm also an author of 3 books that are currently published, and going to be having one published in the next few weeks as well. But I actually speak from city to city. I'm a mother of 4 daughters, which C.L.A.S.S.Y is my oldest of the 4 daughters. And I just love to, I have a passion to help people, and I have a passion to encourage and empower people, just trying to help people enhance the quality of their own lives. I've taken advantage of, as I said, going city to city and traveling all over Maryland, D.C., Virginia, New York, different places like that, speaking with other people and along with teenage mothers and different people like that, because I'm able to relate and connect to a lot of women because I'm a divorced mother, number one, and I was a teenage mom, number 2. So a lot of times I can share my personal testimony, and they can actually relate and connect to me because they're facing some of the same challenges. And the last thing is I'm also a minister, so I did mention that I do use my writing as a tool for Christian ministry to help others deepen their love and relationship with God, and just to try to equip them to better serve Him in all that they do.
That's right. That is great. And we're going to get into your book first, and then I guess that's going to lead into your ministry and everything. Now, this book you have out here, now I'm looking at your book on Amazon, and that's called No Barriers, No Limits, and someone did put a piece on the back, and I'm going to read it. It say, if you are a person who has a strong desire to enhance the quality of your life in order to live life more abundantly, this book is for you. Andrea is committed to educating, empowering, and equipping individuals with the necessary tools to do so. She aspires to see people change for the better while reaching their maximum potential. I love this book. It is an easy read and is well-written map. Often makes it very clear that this is what you need and this is how you should do it, but you have to do it. The author holds no punches in making the reader understand how they can change their life. The author's approach makes you take accountability for your life and your relationship with God. This book made me feel empowered and driven to change myself and go after my relationship with God. And that was written by Jackie Perkins. All right, she's an author also. Now, how did you feel when you read that? Coming from a fellow author.
Well, I was extremely excited. Jackie actually is not a fellow author. Before I actually published that book, I had given a copy of the book to 5 different individuals to read it before I published it, just to see what they thought of the book. So she was one of the people that I received feedback from, and I was really excited because she's not a close friend, she's not a family member, she's not someone that's just going to tell me what I want to hear. And again, just extremely excited to share my book with someone that I don't really personally know. And to get such good feedback. So that was exciting.
Good. All right, okay. I thought I heard you say she was a fellow author. Okay. Well, and also this book says, dream it, think it, achieve it. If you would just dare to live life without limits. And what do you mean by that when you say dare to live life without limits?
Exactly what I said. I believe, as on the front of the book cover says, that you can create your own future while reaching your maximum potential. I don't personally believe in allowing somebody else to create your future. I believe that you have the ability, you have the control over doing that, and if you have to believe. That's the first thing you have to do. And what I recognize is that so often we are our own dream killers or our own dream stealers because we say, oh, I don't have enough education, or I'm just not smart enough, or I don't think I know how to do that, or I don't have the resources, or I'm going to get rejected and people are not going to listen to me. You really just have to take those blinders off. You really have. It's really fear, that 4-letter word fear, and it really, really, really will kill you if you it can kill your dream if you allow it to. So you really just have to, again, you have to go. You can't do it in your comfort zone. So I always say live life without limits. And if you never take chances or you never take risks, you can never grow. You can never change. If everything is always the same, you can never do that. So you have to live without limits.
All right.
And I remember when I was publishing this first book here, I remember I was looking around at all these different publishers, and publishers are extremely expensive. And I said, oh, man, they're expensive. But you know what? I noticed that it was a lot of research, and it seemed like it was a lot of money. But the smallest thing was the research, because I'm a research-type person. So the next thing would have been, would have been considered a barrier for somebody else. That's why I say no barriers, no limits. The money. Well, let me tell you, I didn't allow that to be a barrier, because I said, hey, you know what? If I have to self-publish, I will do that. The only thing that I need to do is to make sure that everything is fair on my end. I need to make sure that I can still have editors, and, my manuscript and proofreading taken care of, and I can own my own copyright. I needed to make sure of all those things. And when I said, if I can do those things, I'm going to publish my own book, because I cannot allow that to be a barrier or to stop me from dreaming and living my life.
That's right. That's right. Now, you have 3 books, another book on its way, 31 Days of Instant Inspiration, Think Up, Go Up. All right. Now, these are all self-help books. Let's start in the beginning. Now, I know you weren't always like this. What happened? What was the turning point that made you decide to author these books, become a minister, become a speaker, become an entrepreneur? What happened that turned you around? What did God do? How did he intervene?
Well, I can tell you that, growing up was hard for me. As I mentioned, I'm a mother of 4 daughters. I had my first daughter when I was 13 years old. Yes, 13. Just getting in 9th grade. I turned around and had another baby at 14. Just getting in 10th grade. Yes, I said 13 and 14. I had 2 children. So being a 13-year-old mother, when I was younger, before I became a mother, I had my mother was a drug addict. I lived in low-income housing. My father was an alcoholic. Thank God he's no longer that. But my mother, when I was 24 years old, by the time I had a 4th baby, I was married. at 24 years old with 4 kids. My mother died from AIDS.
Oh,
And I took on a responsibility of raising 2 other brothers. Of the 5 children, I'm the oldest. So I had 6 children in my home. But before all of that, I remember growing up, you know, and seeing the things with my mother and seeing the things with my father. And I said, you know, I really don't want to live a life like that. And I said, I'm not going to. And when I had those babies, nobody expected it because I was an honor roll student. All you have to do is run into the wrong boy. You know that. But anyway, I was an honor roll student. Nobody expected it. But what else could you expect if my mother wasn't around? I was being raised by my grandmother. So I remember saying those children felt like they were like my comforters, the only people I had to really love. I remember saying, I'm never going to do drugs, I'm never going to smoke cigarettes, I'm never going to drink. And I was really serious about those things, and I never did them. But what I did do is I sold more drugs than anybody probably in my neighborhood. So what I didn't realize is that was it was a cycle repeating itself. When I thought it wasn't, I thought, oh, I don't use them, so it doesn't matter. I don't drink, I don't smoke. But no, it was. So with doing all of that, and then with my mother dying and taking in the brothers, things had got, with me being 24 with 6 children, you got to imagine, you know, it has to be hectic. And my husband at the time, he was also a drug user. He started using drugs.
Oh.
So it's like I'm codependent to something that I've never used, and I'm thinking, okay, my mother's always went through this, but it was a cycle because I attracted those type of men because that's what I grew up around.
Right.
So I remember saying, you know, something's got to give. And I remember when I first decided, I had always went to church because my grandparents made us go. But I really, really, really wasn't a Christian for real. I was just going every Sunday, and that was it. And I remember when I really gave my life to Christ, at this particular night, I remember exactly what happened, but I remember I was crying, and I was like 24 again with 6 kids, and I was saying, God, what can I do? What am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. I have eviction notice month after month after month after month. I just cannot take this anymore. And something said instantly, try Jesus. You've tried everything else. Nothing else worked, so you need to try God. So then as I developed a better relationship with Christ, and I started, you know, going to church regularly, and not just going, but actually being, you know, serving, doing everything I needed to do, I started really, really, really getting a closer relationship with the Lord. That was my way of healing and restoration and renewing my mind.
Yeah.
So as I was going through that process, I remember my older 2 daughters being in school, and they were always on my honor roll, just like I was. I was always on honor roll. And when they were in middle school, I remember sitting on the couch at home, and I was on welfare. And they would come home every marking period with honor roll report cards, and I never helped them with homework. And one day something said to me, you just stay in this house and you watch the stories every day. What are you going to be able to tell your daughters about the work world? What are you going to be able to tell them? How are you going to be able to share experiences if you won't even go to work? You won't do anything but lay right here. And you are so fortunate that these kids are smart enough to get out and get an education for themselves and come home with honor roll. You think a lot of kids aren't just doing that with the mother laying home on the couch. So at that point I said, you know what, I've got to do something better. You know, I started seeking work, finally started working, and then again, all around the same time, I just started developing my relationship with Christ. Left everything behind, the drug dealing, everything, just gave it all up at one time, and just have never turned back because God has just been that good to me.
So everything just turned around. So what was the first thing you saw that changed besides getting the job?
Well, the first thing that I saw that changed is my foul mouth that I had. That was the first thing. God was working on me. Again, it was a renewal of the mind. Because even with getting a job, it's a lot of people that have jobs, but some things just don't change. So it was a lot of change coming within me, and I didn't have the desire to do things that I had been doing before. I no longer had a desire to do, because things just didn't fit anymore. It just didn't work anymore. It was just not comfortable anymore. So the first thing that started changing is my comfort. my comfort level. You know, things started being on my conscience, and that didn't last long because, you know, when it started, you know, being on my conscience, I just started saying, you know what, it's time to do something. So first thing he started doing was a work in me before work or anything, but there was a process still along the way, and that's always a process to continue to work on being better. So I just saw myself improving. I saw myself personally improving my behavior, and then with that improving, I saw my children were always good kids. I never had any problems out of them. They were really, really good kids. But I saw the kids starting to be happy because Mom was able to buy them a pair of shoes now. Mom didn't have to wait for the check on the first of the month anymore. Mom was able to go get a car. Mom didn't have to wait till her husband got home at midnight or whatever time he decided he wanted to come home. And maybe they had a pizza or maybe they didn't. Mom didn't have to wait. They saw Mom doing things and able to do things for them, and it made them happy. So that was really something good for me.
Amen. Hallelujah. All right. That is quite a story. Someone just turning it all around just with the word of God, just letting God come into your heart and take over. Wow. Now,
it hasn't been easy, but it's possible.
Yeah, that's right. It's not going to be easy. And I mean, just like anything, just being in business, you know, starting up from the ground floor. Now you're an entrepreneur. You pushing jewelry and handbooks, bags. So now you have experience because you was a dealer. So it's nothing different. You just another product, right?
I always say I had the hustle mentality, but I changed it to something legal.
That's right, made it legal. So tell us a little bit about your entrepreneur business, and then we're going to talk about your foundation. All right.
Okay. Well, my handbag ANDREA business was founded September of 2008. And how that happened was I was working at Citibank, and I was considering leaving the bank, and things just weren't going good. I had gotten into the travel industry as well while at the same time because my daughters were in college, the older two and the younger two were in Christian school. So I got into that because I was going through a divorce, and I needed extra money. So I started really rolling in the travel thing, and then as I started rolling in the travel thing, a friend came to me, and she said, Andrea, she said, you know what, I think you would do good selling jewelry. And I just kind of looked at her, and I know I always admired people that wore jewelry, like on one of the awards and all that. I look at all that stuff, and I like that pretty stuff, but I never felt like I could really afford it. But she introduced me to it. Well, she mentioned it to me, and then she came to me about Tracy Lynn. Well, after researching Tracy Lynn, I think I did Tracy Lynn for 2 months. And when I realized that this was something that I could do this myself without a third party, I stopped doing Tracy Lynn, and I started doing it for myself. And I just love being able to see the women excited. So since 2008, I've been consistently doing it. I have regular weekly, daily clients, and as you probably noticed, I use Facebook a lot. I use Instagram some, a little Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn, so I'm kind of using all kinds of different social networks, and through other different events I sell my products. And I also, my jewelry has been in a salon for almost 3 years, so that salon has customers that come in all the time.
Wow, so you got to constantly restock them, huh?
Every Saturday morning I go to the salon before I do anything, usually about between 6:30 and 7 in the morning before I do any events. I take inventory, and I pick my envelope up, and I keep going. It's every Saturday morning. I've been doing almost 3 years.
Wow. Now, events. Now, where are you putting on events? Are they at one location, or are you all over the place where you can find vendors?
Well, actually, with the jewelry, I do. I hadn't done a lot since I had the salon, and since I had built up clientele where I don't always have to run around. But when I was doing the events, they were all over the place. Now, it's funny that you would ask because recently, because I have such a presence on Facebook, people have been asking me, Andrea, can you please do a party? Most of the time I do them at churches. Like I'll be at a church in Liberty Heights next weekend, and I'll be in Baltimore this weekend, and then I think I'll be in Edgewood Friday. So I have events at different places, and again, most of the time it's churches. And the women that have them at their home are women that come to the churches because I just don't do them for just anyone anymore.
Right. Right. Wow, that is fantastic. So are your jewelry, are they custom made, or you order them from out of the country?
No, I don't order them out of the country. I don't get China. I wish I could because you could probably get it for 10 cents, 50 cents. But I don't order it from out of the country. But I don't custom make. I do order from other distributors.
Okay.
So I order from distributors, but I really personally don't like to use out of the country services.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, because I've ran across a few girls that make custom jewelry, but they good at making them. They just don't know how to hustle them. And they look like they probably could use somebody like you to help them out. You just buy it off.
It is a lot of work, and that's what people don't see. A lot of people say to me all the time, Andrea, you know what? Girl, I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you do that. You are so successful with this. You're so successful with that, and you really do this jewelry, and you're ministering, and they start thinking of saying all the things that I do, and I really want to do this. This looks so good. You make it look so easy. But what I can tell you that there is a lot of work, and anything worth having, it's always going to be a lot of work. It's not the way it always looks, but it's always worth it at the end. And the thing about it is that people give up too quickly. People say, hey, this is taking too long. I'm tired. But what you have to understand is that you have to keep putting in the work and keep putting in the work and keep putting in the work. You've got to actually keep getting out there because you got to keep sowing and planting seeds if you want to reap a harvest, because you're not going to have any corn growing in that field if you're not planting any corn seeds. Am I correct?
That's right. You're right.
Some people want people to just come to them and they think, hey, when you first start something, it's always exciting. But when all that excitement is gone, what do? You keep going. People don't get it.
They don't. And you're right. It's not easy. I mean, it's like, I was so excited when I got my setup going, and, I got my monitors, got the mics, the boards, and all the blinking lights. And it's like, okay, I need some help. There's too many people contacting me. Who's going to help me with these emails? It's like, it's starting to be like a job. So you're right.
You got to start creating a virtual you. That's my next thing.
Right.
We have to create a virtual you because you can't be everywhere at the same time.
That's right. You are right.
And it will get that way.
Emails. That's right. So I got them answering emails, scheduling people, and so I spend some time recruiting the kind of guests I want. But I do, I do have some help. And sometimes you feel like you need a whole lot more people. But like you said, you got to keep the grind going because, things that come slow, come in season, with patience, those are the things you're going to have longevity with. You don't want anything that's going to come too fast.
Yes.
The same way.
Well, I'll tell you what, you will be, like you said, you were all excited, but I'm sure that the reason you stayed with it because you were determined, or you are determined to create a legacy, I'm sure. And when you're determined to do that and determined to build generational wealth, and determined, like myself, to impact lives globally, you're going to keep on doing it regardless of whatever. But sometimes people have to get to a place where they're broken. And at some point, when they're broken, they're going to have to turn that crawl into a walk. They're going to have to turn that walk into a run. And that's what I had to do. And I had to turn my run into a soar. And now what I try to do is make sure that I continue to do it to keep soaring.
That's right. Absolutely. All right. Now we're ready to talk a little bit about your women's empowerment organization. We got a little bit of time left. But how did C.L.A.S.S.Y come to your heart? How did you get that going? And why?
Well, how that came to my heart is that it actually launched January of 2012, and over at least I would say the past 3 years, I had been really thinking about it. I said, should I start a book club? Because I used to hate reading in school. It was my worst subject, but I love to read, and obviously, I love to write. But I said, should I start a book club? What should I do? And people over the past 3 years would come to me and just say, you know what, Andrea, you just so inspiring, and you're always giving, and you're always doing this, and I think you should be a mentor. And I'm not just saying one or two people, but people would say, you should be a mentor, you should be a counselor, you should be this at a church, or you should be that. And I ran from my calling for certain callings for a long time. But anyway, people would say it, and I'd be like, no, not me, not a mentor, not me, not a counselor, and they're like, well, you're already really doing it because everybody comes to you for advice. So when I thought about having a passion to help people enhance the quality of their life, I said, you know what? Maybe I could start a women's empowerment organization where we're getting out there and we're helping people all around the world. And we have, we'll have these monthly seminars. We've been doing different things in the community, volunteering. But my thing was, I just wanted to impact people globally. I said, I'll get this started. I said, and we'll keep going. I said, and this is going to be exciting. I said, we'll get all the women, start getting women involved. And so I thought about it, and then I said, I'm going to do it. I launched it in January. By the time I launched it, within that month, January 2012, I started writing my first book in February because people were really coming at me telling me you should be a coach or mentor. And something came to my mind, and it was not even over a period of time. It was suddenly when I started writing. It was February of 2012. Something suddenly came to my mind and said, you know what, put some of this stuff on some paper. All this stuff you're going around, you're talking about, and you're sharing with people, put it on paper. So now when I share, a lot of times I even gift books out because I look at my book as an expensive business card. If somebody really needs it, I'm not going to give them the little business card. I'm going to give them an expensive business card and just gift it to them. Wow,
that is something. Now, I love this title. And I want you to tell me a little bit about, with the 4 minutes you got left, tell me about 31 Days of Instant Inspiration.
31 Days of Instant Inspiration, how I moved into that because I wanted to move into something more spiritual, and that is really for the Christian that desires to be a faith-filled believer, but they really need some encouragement. You know how you just felt like I just needed some encouragement, or I just need some inspiration while I'm on this Christian journey because it's just so hard. So that book, it has 31 inspiring messages, and there's a message of hope for each day. And I always say, as you believe in God's promises with those messages, and watch them manifest in your life. That's what they want to do. And it helps you move closer to your destiny by, strengthening and activating your faith. So that was my purpose of that book, 31 Days of Instant Inspiration. And then I have Be Inspired on the book because, again, it's a day of inspiration and hope. One day, a message for each day.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Think Up and Go Up. Tell us something about that book.
Think Up and Go Up. That is kind of a spinoff of No Barriers, No Limits because, first of all, in order to even go anywhere, you have to change your perspective. You have to stop thinking so small. A lot of times we think so small. We're again, because that word fear, that thing has us saying, I can't do this and I can't do that, and we've limited ourselves. You have to think up to go up. You got to think big. Some people say you think too big. Well, you tell them I think you think too small. However you want to put it, but it really, truthfully, you think too big. Oh, that's just too big. Well, you think too small. That's just flat out response. And Think Up and Go Up. Actually, I love that book because in the first book I had done stuff, and people were writing all through the book, and they were telling me I wrote through the book, and I had to get paper. I did this. I had to get paper and whatever. So with Think Up and Go Up, I made it where it's a book, kind of like a workbook too. You can answer the questions in the book and different things in the book. And there's that book is a actual 10-chapter book, and it starts with what influences your thinking, and then that's chapter 1, and then it goes to evaluate your circle of influence, work smart. Chapter 4 is how can you benefit others. Chapter 5, how to attract the right people, because that's very important. And then once you get halfway through, you can reflect on the experiences during your reading in the first 5 chapters. You move to chapter 6. Chapter 6 is how to become an expert. Chapter 7 is challenge yourself. Chapter 8 is take action, because you can't do anything if you're not taking any action. And chapter 9 is be determined to win. Chapter 10 is from motivation to elevation.
Love that. Wow. Now, these books are all listed under self-help books. If somebody went to the library, or if they're looking them up online, or should they just go to your website to buy them?
Yes, sir. They can actually they can go to my website to purchase them. But if you feel more comfortable going to Amazon, be glad to go to Amazon. And if you feel more comfortable going online to Barnes and Noble, you can go online to Barnes and Noble. But you can actually go to self-help, as you mentioned. That is, my books are self-help, motivational or personal growth and development, like success type books.
That's right. Love it. Love it. 31 days of instant inspiration. Think up
Yes, sir.
and go up. No barriers, no limits. All self-help books. And look for her new book that's being co-authored with a few other women. You said a few other women or one author?
No, actually, it's going to be a total of 5 of us. I started with 10 women, and the reason I started with 10 because I knew we would end up with, I said, I know we won't end up with any more than 7, but we won't have less than 4, so we have 5, and it's perfect.
Great. And that book is called How We Made It Over. And that will be available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Her website, which is author ANDREA and then she got C.L.A.S.S.Y.info. So check her out. And that book will be released July 1st. Wow. What a woman. What a woman. I love it. Great show, Andrea. You did very well. Enjoy having you as a guest. Anything you'd like to say to close out our show?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to share tonight. And if there's my contact information you've provided, I have an email address if anybody does have anything they'd like to ask me, whether it's in reference to any of my books or even if it's in reference to questions. I don't want to say, to author, but anything in reference to, because the show is about authors. If you have any questions about, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book, feel free to email me. I have no problem with that. You can email me at author@AndreaFreeman.info.com. That's
right. All right, and we appreciate having you on the show, Andrea. I'm so glad your daughter, recognized your talents and needed to be told to the world. Because after all, this is a podcast, and these things travel all over the world at any time. You just name it. Because I'm making friends with people in the UK almost every day. So they said they enjoying the shows, and I feel like it's in my heart to try to bring more powerful authors to the online. I guess you say airwaves, or I guess you say to the internet, right? So, it's all different terminology now, but I'm just so glad you were able to do this for us. And I wish you the best and continue to do what you're doing. The world needs you. All right?
I thank you so much, and thank you again. Thanks a million, and you all have a wonderful and blessed night.
You too. And this is Jerry Royce. You can get us at Spreaker, Spreaker.com. You can follow us at Spreaker.com/PositivePower21. We have PositivePower21.org. Jerry Royce Live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. And we'll be getting ready for our next show at 9:30 if you'd like to hang on. Take care, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Positive Power 21 Network. Team 21 would like to thank you all for tuning in, and please spread the word and tell a friend. This is Jerry Royce at Positive Power 21, where we get our positive on.
PositivePower21.org, Internet Radio.
Thank you, and that's a wrap.